time and I'm in a rush, but I wanted to do the Total Tarot flip throughs with the episodes 14 and 15 that's just arrived in the post. So I thought I'd get them up before we run out of too much time. I just need to adjust my camera a little bit, so bear with me a moment. Mobile today, which might not be a great idea, but we'll just see. Hopefully I'll just rearrange myself to fit the shot. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with the Total Tarot, I've been collecting it and it comes in the binder. So this is in England, available for collection. And I really like it, most importantly. So I subscribe, so it comes in the post, then therefore I pay for 2 editions each time. So the money's taken out and then I have to wait 20 odd days for the items to be posted. And by doing so, I get 2 magazines, because the magazines, as I've discussed before, each magazine comes with half a deck. So half a deck in this one, half a deck in this one. By subscribing to the pair to come in the post, I get the entire deck all in one go, and I'm not worrying and panicking about trying to get it in the nearest shop, because it's quite hard to get hold of around here. So that just takes the stress out of it for me. With this magazine, we have the collector's edition of the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot, and you get 1 card per magazine to add to your collection. So you got the majors in the deck, so 22 cards in total in the deck before you started, and then there's another, what does that make it then, 56 cards to collect. So therefore 56 editions of Total Tarot by my reckoning to collect, to put the whole deck together. So we have the 4 of Cups and the 4 of Wands with these 2. And I'm very pleased to say, probably because it came in a cardboard box due to the fact that we got something extra this month. When you subscribe, you get the extra bits. They're not bent, they're not damaged for the first time in a very long time. Because if you just can see there in my box, there's like little gaps, which is where, well, that's just basically the cards haven't arrived in pristine condition as they've come through. They've come a bit bent, out of shape, a little bit bashed and dinged. Pet peeve of mine, but those ones at least are perfect. And I have one of the bags that come, and you can see it matches the front, that came with the subscription box, and I use that one just to keep the box in, keep it all nice and tidy, which goes back to one of my tarot quirks where I won't put a deck in a bag without the box. Go figure. What else came with this? We got a crystal ball. So it's a glass ball or sphere. It's quite sizable, as you can see. I'm not sure what size we're calling this. This has got to be, I don't know, 12 centimeters, maybe 10-12 centimeters in diameter. And it came with an acrylic stand as well. I think that's acrylic. Yeah, I think that's acrylic, and then obviously this is glass. So it sits quite nicely together on the table. And I do have my own crystal ball, but it's a lot smaller. And this one, you can see the rainbows in it. This is clear quartz. This is real quartz crystal. And they come with imperfections in them, unlike a glass sphere. And they're just for relaxing your eye for divination and staring into. So those are my crystal shinies, which I'll pop over there. As always, we've got a box with this one. And oh, somebody's popping in. Oh, sorry, Oshi. Yeah, thank you. I shall catch you on the flip side. So I have the John Bauer Tarot. This is the box that's come in, and then here's the decks. So I haven't, as it's just come through the post, I haven't actually, normally I'd pre-open these to save doing this on the stream. If we just flip them open. We've got the first half finished at 3, second half starts at 4. So if we put the deck together, I'll do those at the end. Drop them into their box. There we go. So it's a nice roomy tuck box. They're safe now. And we'll just quickly go through the magazines. starting with part 14, so I'm definitely in order. I have a habit of sometimes doing this out of order. Okay, we're just about in frame, aren't we? Yeah, looks like we are. We're all in. Okay, so getting to know the deck. So here we have this one here is about the, we're talking about the Thelema. That's definitely the Thelema, which came in some of the earlier parts 4 and 5. Here we have, is this our Renaissance deck that we went through? Or the pre-Raphaelite, rather. I keep calling it Renaissance because it's like Renaissance art. So the pre-Raphaelite, which is like the Halloween tarot. And all of these decks so far have been low Scarabeo, and I believe they will all be low Scarabeo decks for anyone that's curious. We have the vice versa. Again, we had that one last time, parts 12 and 13. So this is talking about bringing tarot into our life, getting in touch and embracing the variety. And then here we have some tips on how to boost your readings. So practice reading the cards for others. It will help you to find out what themes and questions you're drawn to. And that is a good tip because sometimes people are better at answering certain questions. And that's when we have that, you know, if you go to a reader, you can find the reader that suits you better. That's quite often a good thing to do. We have the death card, and by doing so they'll answer different questions for you, just in keeping with what I'm saying there. So we have the tarot's thematic meanings, which, as you know, is one of my favourite parts to this, and what the card says. So the conversation back at you from the actual card. And this one is saying, with the death card, when I say the death card, we're talking about this one in particular from the Radiant Wise Spirit. I stand behind you, in front of you and next to you, watching you and those you love. I am the force you may hear, but I will never deny. You can no more stop my bony fingers than prevent the seasons from changing. I am the ending that brings about all new beginnings. Embrace me, do not fear me, look me in the face and accept the consequences. It is easier if you do not struggle. So that's what the card is saying to us about transition, movement, moving forwards, changing things up a little bit in our lifetime. And we have some death cards on the bottom. So we have the Grim Reaper from the Low Scarabeo deck. We have the Arcanum Tarot, and that looks like it's coming in parts 18 and 19. We have the Pagan Tarot, the Dark Angels Tarot. That is a really nice deck. I did a live with Sandra recently, so you can find that one. And we talked a lot about this deck actually in our kind of dark images decks for everyday use, not just for specific kind of shadow workings. We have the Harmonious Tarot here. We have the Universal Fantasy Tarot, the Pre-Raphaelite Tarot, and the Tarot of the Pagan Cats. It tells us about the card in reverse. We have, for further exploration, some hints and tips here. So here we are suggesting read up on dying rites, nature's science, gardening, Grim Reaper, Angel of Death, Hades, Saint Death, and who's this? Danse Macabre, I think, if I've got that correct. And then we have a couple of other depictions there from different tarot decks, and that's the Pictorial Key, the Marseille, and the Visconti Sforza, or Golden Visconti. So this edition's tarot spread is called the Universal Actions Spread, and it is encouraging the person asking questions to clarify what their goals are, helping you to find the right strategy to get the result that you want, to examine consequences of your actions. So that'll be an interesting one to take a look at. And as we can see, it's a 4-card spread in a line. First card is the goal, second card is the strategy, third card is the result, and fourth card is the consequences. And then I am guessing, usually we get the example spread, so possibly in the other magazine, that's normally what they do, and it talks you through them. And here it just goes into a bit more depth. So when we're talking about the strategy and the goal, there's hints there. So the reader should examine the strategy, asking, will the strategy lead to the goal being achieved? They should encourage, so we as the person answering questions are encouraging that person or ourselves to define the course of action in a practical way, taking aspect into account of how we want to achieve, move forward, gain our goals. We have the tarot deck library for John Bauer. We have some bits here about the key differences. So as you look through the John Bauer Tarot, you may be struck by the differences between these cards and other decks. The Strength card, for instance, depicts a young girl with a bear, rather than that lion which we're all used to. The Hermit, meanwhile, is a fair-haired young woman with candles on her head, rather than an old man. Another difference in the John Bauer deck is that the hanged person replaces the hanged man. The card shows an apparently female figure with long hair perched in a tree, rather than a male figure suspended from a branch by one leg. These variations are part of what makes the tarot deck so special. And those are sorts of things that you'll see in other decks, certainly within my collection, where it changes up and kind of differs. Now, what do we have? So we have the minor arcana words and meanings. And then we have our hermit. The visual reference to the John Bauer Tarot. And this is the major arcana visual reference here. And again, telling us practices make perfect. Exploration. Turn to page 17 to read our guide on the beautiful mysterious John Bauer, which is obviously the page that we've just been through. So that's that one. And here it tells us about, so what do we have? Bauer's wife Esther was a model for his work. She can be seen on cards including the High Priestess, Death, the Hermit, Eight of Swords, and the Queen of Wands. I didn't know that. That's really nice to know. So there's a bit of history there about the deck, and of course I'm not going to read all of this out because if you have this, and I'm going to ruin the kind of text for you. So that is magazine 14, and then 15 here we have court cards, and we have the Tarot Illuminati. Oh, coming in parts 20 and 21. Looking forward to that deck. The imagery in this is just amazing. It's so bright, vivid, beautiful, bold. Yeah, I am very much looking forward to that. Questions for the cards. So I'm not sure what we're looking at here. So this is obviously about your court cards, but questions you can ask the cards. What function do they serve? What is their history? What systems exist for interpreting them? Who is ultimately the authority to say what these cards mean? And the pre-text before that, which I should have actually read out, is several key questions to ask when thinking about any type of tarot card, and these apply to the court cards too. And then those were your prompts to make you think and question. And we have a little bit more here on the pre-Raphaelite tarot. These are the Illuminati, I think, looking at their staffs. What do we have? So traditional method. In the traditional method, court cards represent a real person, their actions or influence over a situation when they appear in a spread. It may be possible to identify this individual by which specific court card you draw. And we are going to say, so knights are older, kings are older, mature men. Knights are young men. Queens are older, mature women. Pages are young boys. That's a really old-fashioned, outdated way of looking at the cards, I have to say. And the word traditional kind of gives it away. That has changed immensely over the time, but everyone reads them in their own way. So the cards start to get their own meaning to you. They'll key into your own psyche and give you their meaning themselves. And that's where I think most of us start, but it's not where you need to stop. It will certainly change. You'll take on the energy of the card possibly rather than the book meanings. And then this also tells us about the suits as well. So oh dear. Cups, a blonde-haired, fair-skinned person. So if you had the Knight of Cups, we're talking about a young man with blonde hair, fair skin. Wands, red hair, fair skin. So Knight of Wands is a young man with red hair, fair skin. You get the point. Pentacles, brown hair, olive skin. So if we have the Queen of Pentacles, we're talking about an older, mature woman with brown hair, olive skin. Swords, black hair, fair skin. So Queen of Swords again would be an older, mature woman with black hair, fair skin. Again, really outdated. But some people do use it, and it actually does work for them. That's never worked for me, but that's not, doesn't say it's wrong. It just means that, you know, I have my own way of doing this. So what are we looking at here? The World of Esoteric Tarot, Part 1. Read about the development of Esoteric Tarot in our first article on the subject, Charting Tarot's Evolution from Card Game to Divination Tool. That's going to be quite exciting to read, actually, because Tarocchi, or Tarocchi, obviously comes from Italy. The Visconti Sforza is one of the oldest, I think, known decks. That was a playing card deck and then became a tarot deck later on in life, and it's the only one that's kind of existing with history. So it started out, as we say, as a card game, not divination, and then slowly it became kind of a divinatory form of reading, and then people have put all sorts of history, lore and folk and tradition onto it after that. But yeah, so that's quite interesting. We have tarot techniques and questions about love. So if you're wanting to know about giving love readings, so asking how, way of asking question to encourage the person or the question that you're asking, who is it for, getting it significant as well, so it means something when you get the reading. Now this one does talk about heartbreaking cards. I'm not going to go into those because I don't do love readings for very good reasons. People can sometimes get too hung up on these, so it's a bit like reading your horoscope. If people get too invested in the horoscope reading, it can stop them from making their own free will and choices and decisions. So I don't like to encourage people to divert from being able to make their own minds up, and especially with love, because it's such a huge subject, and people get very passionate about it. Then we have the universal action spread. Yep, so here we have the cards that they've done, an example, and then they give the example of breaking it down in the reading, how to translate those cards into actions and words. The relationship between the cards, so how the cards, what have we got here? So card 1 being the Two of Swords, card 2 is the Eight of Swords. So Two of Swords and Eight of Swords, how they read together. Then we've got the Two of Swords again with the King of Pentacles and how they relate together. So the Three of Swords, and then we've got, yeah. So what they've done is this card and this card, this card and this card, this card and this card. So we've done that combination. Then they've gone with this card and this card, because 3 is the result card. And this is the consequences. So after you've got your result, what is the consequences of your result? Which is why I put them two together rather than the strategy with the result. So they've done the goal with the result, and then the result with the consequence. So that's quite nice to see. In the mind's eye, interpreting the links, finding the links in your cards. We're talking about the Temperance card in this one. We have what the card says. And then, again, my favourite parts. So, we're looking at Lo Scarabeo, the Universal Tarot, which is coming next time, parts 16 and 17. The Universal Celtic Tarot. I should add that bit in. We have the Pagan Tarot, the Dark Angels Tarot coming up in your collection. And again, as I've said, I have that deck, so you can watch the chat with Sandra about dark decks for everyday use. Here we have the Universal Fairy Fantasy Tarot, the Shaman Tarot, our Pre-Raphaelite Tarot, and the Tarot of the Pagan Cats. We have the card reversals and further exploration of the deck. Then we have the suits, so the pictorial reference to the suit cards. A bit more about, making practice on what you're doing with your cards and reading. And yeah, that is it with that one. And then on the back, it tells us quite clearly then that we are expecting the Universal Celtic Tarot and some more interesting reads inside. So we've lost the summary. I don't know if anyone spotted that. The summary is now no longer on the back pages because we got through to Z. And what we're having now is we've got colour pictorials at the back. So they are putting some extra. So something extra that's gone in because we were on page 19 still. So they've put something extra in. So I think they filled it up a little bit with this, because this in the original magazines came in first magazine. And we've now got it across 2 magazines for the spreads. So they're giving us a lot more information on how to read the spreads that are in the magazines. So that's actually where we've kind of got the extra pages and the little bit of extra content. Blah. Excuse me, stuttering over my words. Okay, let's have a look at the deck. I'm hoping I am actually in view, because I just keep looking here to my right, and it looks like my other device is completely out of focus, and I hope that's not right, because this one is in focus. So let's come down and have a look at this deck if we can zoom in. Oh, yep, a bit too much. Just waiting for it to catch up. So you can see we have the top card there for John Bauer. These are the backs, so they're very pretty, red, intricate backs, two-tone. Actually, it's a bit jarring on the old eyes there, but it's a pretty back nonetheless. It's clearly not reversible. You know which way up your deck is. This does feel like a nice cardstock. It's got a bit more sheen to it, and a good amount of flex. So it returns back to where it's come from. So that's always nice to know. And then let's have a look through and see what we've got for fall. So I haven't seen this deck before, so these images are brand new to me. I just knew it was different and was quite excited about getting this one. So we heard that the wife is his muse for some of these, so this is her as the High Priestess. This could well be her again. I can't remember all the cards that we listed now. Oh, I love that Hierophant. Look at that. It's kind of got a real storybook image to it, isn't it? Reminds me of the Never-Ending Story with like the big rock, the little children talking to like the big rock. Our lovers. That's an interesting chariot, isn't it, with a little gnome sat on top. Here's our strength card, so I know that was John Bauer's wife. And then we have our bear. Here's our hermit. I like that, actually. I do like that depiction. Wheel of Fortune. That's a very different Wheel of Fortune. And there's our hanged one. So for anyone who has the old version of this deck, you'll probably have wording on it telling you what these are, whereas obviously this has been printed. I think this is the new versions of the deck, actually. It's not just been printed for Low Scarabée, for Total Tarot, but they've been removed for these. Here we have our transformation card. A little bit of alchemy. And there's death. Tower. Let's see. Can't tell if that's going to fall down on him or not. But we've got the lightning bolt. More stars guiding you through the night. Can you see that one? It's very evidently there, actually. We have our moon with a moose. About the hoose. There used to be an advert with that one for anyone who recognises the reference. Here's our sun. Judgment. And our world card. Okay, so we're on to the cups. Let's bring this up and see if we can get into that. I really need to check this deck, actually, go back and check it. It's very fairy tale-esque. It's got, this reminds me of the Brothers Grimm, like fairy tales. Hansel and Gretel. Those sorts of fairy tales. And some of these cards. And the Never-Ending Story. I mean, that could even be The Emperor's New Clothes. There's so many. Yeah, these. I have somewhere a book where there's a witch that looks like that, or a troll. So I wonder what else this person has illustrated in his time that maybe I've come across. Because these are really kind of reminding me of childhood books and story tales. But there is an intricacy in these pictures as well. They really do have fine line work. So we've got here the Nine of Coins. Quite a dark feel about that one. Okay. So I didn't see if we changed the court cards up into different names. We have a knight, we'll call them, sorry, page, so we'll say, page, knight, who is actually on a horse. There's our queen with the different shaped crown and a king. Now we move to the wands. See Rapunzel, anyone? This would be a really good storytelling book, you know, a deck, a muse type deck, when you want to just put cards down and write a story with some creative writing, thinking processes in place. So we're on to the swords, the last suit. There's our three. The dying swan. Six. We have no boat in this one. No boat and no guide. Seven. There's our eight. Nine. And at least there's a happy ending in the 10. That's nice to see. Page, knight. There's our queen, king, and the total tarot card. So all in all, that is a gorgeous deck. Absolutely gorgeous. Thoroughly enjoyed that flick through. In fact, if I wasn't live, I'd have spent a lot more time with these cards, I think. Let's just have a little look. I think it's also Robin at Toadstool Tarot's channelversary. Is it his channelversary? Or Dragoshi's channelversary? Somebody's got channelversary today. So you can always pop across to have a look at Toadstool Tarot or Dragoshi's Tarot and see which one of them it is that's going to have a live on, and join in some fun and chats with them. And if you've missed it, make sure you go back and watch it again. So yeah, this deck shuffles nicely. Let's just see what we get. This is probably in response to a VR for Good Mood decks. This one is possibly, it's got that fairy tale-esque story about it. She says pulling out the Three of Swords. But yeah, I think it's really nice. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you in the next flip through of the Total Tarot subscription. And as I say, at some point I will come through and do an actual spread from one of these magazines, but it does take a lot to get it all in, and I don't want to keep you all longer than necessary. So that in mind, I will see how we end a live on a phone, and yeah, see you again.